Hey guys, this is Norris, and today I'll be showing you how to play Miho, the raccoon anime lady with the blue sword. First, let's start with her abilities and understanding what they're used for. Miho's A ability, Raison, is her bread and butter, and the main focal point of her playstyle. On paper, it doesn't seem that good. Not only does it have a very long cooldown for her dash ability, it also lacks any meaningful base damage, and has a pretty subpar damage ratio. What makes this ability special is that Raison does damage to every hero and thing in its path, while also being a blink. Let's talk about blinks and dashes for a sec. It's important to understand the difference in power and playstyle between a dash and a blink. While a dash will be snared and stopped by certain CC abilities like Arden ults and Larrabees, a blink will simply go right through them, negating massive threats to Miho. Yup, blinks can go through abilities, unlike dashes, leading to some pretty crazy outplay potential. Because Miho's blink is a blink that deals damage to enemies that passes through, this ability is essentially an auto attack reset, which gives her free damage during crits. Use Raison to dodge and weave auto attacks through the enemies. Learning how to use her combo correctly will make you a monster in teamfights and duels, and understanding her kit will make you unbeatable. Miho's B, Shingetsu, is a skill shot very similar to a Joel B. While it can be juked, it's relatively easy to land. However, its main purpose isn't to deal damage, but to apply stacks of Miho's perk, which I will explain later. Shingetsu can also be cancelled by using the bright red 2 ability button that shows up when her B is active. I know that's a little confusing and will take some time getting used to. Miho's ult, Tsukuyomi, is the basis of Miho's teamfight potential, and while it does have some utility thanks to its ability to destroy most projectiles, it's better to save it and utilize it for setting Miho up for teamfighting. Before we go any further, I need to explain Miho's perk and how it works with her kit. Miho's perk, Keen Eye, is quite complex, so hear me out. Every ability applies a stack of Keen Eye. You see this as a pink flower petal. Once an enemy has 3 flower petals, an auto attack or A will make the affected target or enemy unguarded. Unguarded heroes are stunned and take bonus damage. Miho also gains a barrier equal to 100% of her weapon power. I told you, it's complicated. And there's more. You can tell a hero has been unguarded when the pink flower petals become blue, and Miho's ult is special because it applies 3 Keen Eye stacks to heroes and jungle monsters it hits. Once you proc someone, they cannot be hit again for around 10 seconds or so. Also, one more thing I need to mention. Once you max Miho's A, it will reset every time you auto attack or A through someone with 3 pink petal stacks. That's right, you heard me. Every single time. Heroes and jungle monsters. I'm sure you can see where I'm going with this. In late game teamfights, Miho can chain her A on multiple enemies, and it looks awesome. When you consider how her A deals damage to every enemy in its path, the effect is devastating. She's able to chain massive damage across entire teams, and if she's good enough, she can do it while being virtually untouchable the entire time. Look, I get it. You want to become a chain teleporting anime god, but you need to know how to play her through the different stages of the game. So let's look at exactly how to do that. Miho is a hyper carry, and similar to other hyper carries like Magnus, Baron, and Tensei, she has an incredibly weak early game. Because the main objective is to hit level 8 for a big power spike. I like to play her in the jungle, though she can lane well too. In the jungle, there's a lot of XP, and I'll generally hit level 8 before anyone else. When playing Miho, it's important to accept that your ganks before level 8 will kinda suck. It will be subpar at best. Try to focus on farming and coming to side lanes to help push them out and collect some ambient. You want to be very careful during this time, since before level 8, she only has a single A charge, and if you use it for an engage, you will lose your escape and risk getting cucked. It also has an extremely long cooldown, so try and save it. There's no need to use it to farm your jungle. Once Miho hits the mid game, or in her case, level 8, she stops becoming a big minion and becomes a hero, well actually, a monster. Now you can start ganking lanes pretty well, and if your laners are able to follow up, you're very effective at zoning the enemy laners out. But your true power spike happens when you get Sorrowblade and Tension Bow. I'll go over more builds later. So once you get your Sorrowblade and Tension Bow, you can start to obliterate squishies in 1v1s, and as long as you engage at smart times and make sure you fight squishy enemies, you will dominate them. When picking targets or enemies to fight during the mid game, try to go for those who have already used boots or big abilities. Try to avoid fights with tanks like Catherine or sustain heroes like Cruel, since at this point in the game you don't do quite enough damage to consistently fight them. The idea here is to get as much gold as possible to extend your lead, since Miho is very good at snowballing. Late game, try to take fights in the jungle, so it's easier to land your ultimate on multiple enemies. Remember, your ult can be blocked, so if it is, back off. Her survivability is highly dependent on rezon chaining. Even if you have the perfect ult, remember your A can proc your perk too, so be careful to not proc all the perks at once, since it actually reduces your potential damage and the amount of A's you can do. Instead, try to hop from one enemy to the next as needed. Use your A to avoid damage, while simultaneously hitting enemies you've already procced to quickly build your BP stacks while also doing massive damage. This is called perk management, and good perk management is what separates a good Miho from a great one.
Oh, nice. Nice, dude. That's what I want to do.
Double kill. Double kill. Triple kill.
I just want to take a moment to highlight this play since it shows an aspect about Miho which I haven't talked about before, which is about using other jungle monsters who have got marked in team fights in order to increase your range during your A so you can catch people off guard.
That's what I want to see.
The build that I recommend with Miho does not have much attack speed, since you're mostly using your A during team fights and your abilities and playstyle do not scale at all with attack speed. I go Starblade first because it scales well with their kit. The bonus damage from a perk combined with how it scales with the ladder items in this build makes it a superior pick when compared to Serpent Mask or Spell Sword first. Next, I like to get my Tension Bow as fast as possible. It's pretty much required for dueling most opponents, and its high burst and pierce is exactly what Miho needs in the mid to late game. After Tension Bow, I like to build a Breaking Point, as by the time I get to build our third damage item, there's normally large team fights occurring. Both the barrier you get and the damage that Tension Bow deals scales with weapon power, so Breaking Point is a very good pick for team fights. Generally after the Breaking Point, I go into Serpent Mask. This makes Miho pretty tanky when you factor in her perk and high AoE damage. If you correctly chain your A's, you'll be close to full health the entire time. For defense, I go Aegis or Slumbering Husk, depending on whether or not I need to negate CC or large bursts of damage. For boots, I recommend Journey Boots, since she does not have a lot of built-in mobility apart from her A, and enemies can kite you fairly easy if your A is down. Miho has some pretty basic ability combos. Before level 8, that's before you max your A, the combo is generally A, B, B, then cancel the B, then auto attack. You can also B, B, cancel the B, A through them for the last perk, and then auto attack. You can also alternatively just ult and A. Once you're level 8 and you max your A, the combos are pretty much the same except you either add an A at the end or at the start. So you can go A, B, B, cancel B, auto A through them for more damage. You can also B, B, cancel B, A, auto A for 2 quick A's immediately after each other. You can also just A, ult, and A. As you can see, her combos are pretty easy to get used to after a while. It's the execution and chaining of the A's that's the hard part. If you're building a team around Miho, Pick heroes who can help her dive or split the enemy team focus on something else. With this in mind, heroes like Grace or Lorelei and Arden work very well. On the other hand, Lara is a poor pick with Miho because of Miho's fast-paced playstyle. It's very hard for Lara to effectively heal or support her. If you're looking for good counters to Miho, heroes that can effectively bully her out of her jungle or lane in the early game are very good. So Kashka, Grumpjaw, Krul, and Jewel. These heroes can very easily pressure Miho out of her lane and jungle. As a hero that is heavily reliant on levels and items, if Miho gets behind her opponents in gold and levels, she's at a very severe disadvantage because of her low base damage. Late game counters are CC heroes who excel in locking down dive heroes. Tony, Sanfeng, and Yulva are all great for this. The best counter to Miho, however, is probably Catherine. Not only can Catherine shut down Miho thanks to her reliable stun, her bubble combined with the silence make it very dangerous for Miho to dive a team that has a Catherine on it. If you want to practice Miho while not actually playing her, I recommend playing the only other two heroes in the game with blinks, Anka and Weapon Power Idris. Playing Anka will teach you how Miho should position during a team fight. The fast, reset-based playstyle is hard to master but very rewarding. This will also teach you perk management along with how to chain it across enemies, though not in the same way as Miho. Weapon Power Idris has a very weak early game, so if you get good at him and survive the early game, you'll definitely do the same on Miho. Not only that, but if you play Weapon Power Idris, who has a very similar kit to her, you will also have an idea on matchups and also understand how ult interaction, blink interactions, and all those things work, which I highly recommend doing. He shares a lot of weaknesses as Miho, so if you master Idris, you'll master Miho. Play and master these two heroes to build a solid foundation for your Miho gameplay and truly understand her unique playstyle. Overall, Miho is an exceptionally fun hero to play. Not only does she offer a unique and rewarding playstyle, but she also, arguably, has one of the highest skill caps in the game, meaning that there's a lot to get good at with her. Hopefully this guide has helped you get better at understanding the Vainglory hero Miho in some way and will help you play her successfully. Thanks for watching.